just going to run you through the 4 knots that I use for lure fishing. I think it's the only 4 knots that you need for lure fishing. If you're bait fishing and stuff, yeah, you might be doing snell rigs, paternosters, stuff like that, but we're going to go through 4 knots for lure fishing. I'm going to start off doing a Uni Knot. I've got 200-pound leader here just so it's a bit easier to see. This is a knot that I'll use for tying to things like spinner baits, chatterbaits, things that you sort of just straight winding. Also tying to solid rings on jigs or swivels on poppers and stick baits. So we'll tie to this swivel on the popper and I'll show you. So straight up, go through your swivel, come through the backside, lay with the tag end over your main line like so. Through there, tag end, pinch, and then use your other hand and fold over the front of both of them lines. And if I turn it over, you can see I've gone behind both of them lines. So you fold it over and pinch it there, which leaves you with something like that. It's a bit hard to see, but if I part my fingers, that's what you want to achieve. So you got this loop up here, which my hand is in, and then that tag end crossing down in front of both of your main line and your tag line. And then you're left with that loop above your main line there. So now you got the tag end here. You want to bring that up and through that loop. Here I like to use my teeth, grab it through, pull it a little bit tight, and now fold down around them both and back through the loop. So it's gone through twice now. Pull it with your teeth. See that through twice, and now down, around, and back through once again. Pull it through with your teeth. That's what you're left with. So now, I like to grab on the lure, the main line, and the tag end in my teeth, and just start to slowly tighten it down until you get it so it's not falling back apart. Till you've got it sitting there like that. Give it a little bit of spit, and then grab again with your teeth, your lure and your tag end, and pull it as tight as you can. Then just another one for good measure, and that's what you're left with. 3 wraps has always been fine for me. I know people do 4 and 5 and stuff, but 3 wraps has always been good. I've had that locked up with big GTs and never had a problem. So you can do 4 wraps, 5 wraps, whatever sort of fits you. That's how I like to do it, and that works for me. So that's the Uni Knot. So the second knot, which I use for any other lure, if I'm not tying the Uni Knot, I'm tying a loop knot. So it's either a Uni Knot to a lure that I don't want to add sort of extra action or free the lure up, or it's a loop knot. So a loop knot is something I'll tie to like a walk the dog lure, a plastic, hard bodies, things like that. Alright, so we'll go with the loop knot now. 200 pound again, just so it's easy to see. First things first, make your granny knot. So just make a little loop in your line there. Grab your lure, through the eye of your lure. And then this is important. This is where I don't like to have a really big, oversized loop knot. I have had loop knots snap inside the loop before, not because it was oversized, I think because it had a little nick or something in the loop. But I just like to have a nice small size loop knot. If I'm tying to a jig head on a plastic, I like the loop knot to sort of just be as long as the weight on the front of the jig head. So this is where you can sort of size down your loop. If you pull that a bit tighter, the loop that you tie in the end is going to be a bit smaller. So I'll pull that to make my loop a little bit tighter and smaller in the end. Then come down around your main line with your tag end twice. Once. A bit hard with the 200 pound, but we'll get there. Once. Twice. And then back through the back of your loop, and so you got it all sitting there like that. Now you want to go back through that original loop that you created through both of them loops there. You don't want to go through this little gap here. You want to go through both. And then I like to grab it with my teeth there and slowly pull it tight. As I pull it tight, there it comes. I go around twice, people go around more, people do it other ways. This is just how I do it and what has worked for me. Just at the end of the day, it's all about being comfortable with the knot you're tying. Like if you're not comfortable tying a knot a certain way, don't try and tie it that way, just tie it a different way. And obviously that's a bit like clumped up at the front there because it's 200 pound. If you can see that, all right, that's the loop knot. Tie that to all lures that you want to free up the action, hard bodies, walker dogs like this, plastics, things of that nature. All right, so they're the only two knots that I use for tying, connecting lures to leader. Now we're going to go to connecting braid and leader together. So the first knot I use is called an Albright knot, and I use this for anything sort of under 20 pound, like light stuff, togas, brim, bass, flatties, all sort of that stuff. Stuff that's not really pulling super hard and you don't really need a super strong knot, especially if it's only under 20 pound. Anything over 20 pound is where I'll go on to the next knot, which I'll show you in a minute. So grab your leader. It's probably not going to pull super tight and stuff on this because it's 200 pound and 100 pound braid, but it's just better for people to see. So make a loop, pinch that loop together in your fingers, get your braid and come through the back. To you guys it'll be the front, but on this it's the back, and then pull it through. Make sure you got enough tag to have yourself a bit to play with, and then where you've pinched here you can just sit that braid and that can just hang there like that. So that's gone through that loop there, see it up there, and then hanging over the other side. Pinch it all together in 3, and then I use the front of my fingers here as sort of a guide, and I just work with them. I go around once, twice, and that finger just keeps it straight. Lay it down beside your other twist. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And look at that, nice and neat, laid down there. People do 10, people go up and back, 5, 8's always been good for me. As long as you test it and make sure that it's not slipping, always test it before you like start casting at fish and stuff, but that's always been good for me. 8's a good number, I like it there. So now you've got that nice and snug. I like to pinch that with my finger, and you've got your main line where it comes through here. Now this bit's sort of important, that you keep this line, it's going to want to sag, but you keep it, you know that it's got to be up the top there. So you bring your tag end through and you put it back through that main loop. Yeah? But bring that and hold the main line where it's coming off your reel up to the top and have this at the bottom. so it's like train tracks, and then just pull it all tight. It's going to be pretty hard for it to like fully cinch down and snug down because of how thick this line is, and this knot doesn't really work with thick lines, but I just want to do it on the thick line so you can see. That's sort of how it sort of starts to go down. I'll always wet it up a bit and then pull it tight, and that's what it should look like. It should look a bit like tighter and a bit neater than that when you're doing it. Like I said, I only use this for anything under 20 pounds. So when you're using 20 pound or less, it'll look a lot neater than that. Cut your ends. I like to leave just like a little bit of tag just in case it does slip a tiny bit. And that's sort of your finished product. And that is the Braid knot. Alright, now we're going to the last knot, and probably the most difficult knot to learn, but something that you need to learn if you want to chase GTs and kingfish and any stuff like that. And that is the FG knot. There is a couple of things you need for this. You need a lighter, obviously your braid, your main line, and a pair of scissors. So first things, you want to keep tension. You want to have tension on your braid. So I normally like to lay my rod down over something and sort of pull back and hold my braid in my teeth. You want that nice and tense. I like to hold it in my teeth, somewhere where you can hold a nice bit of tension on it. Get your leader, lay it over your braid like that, and then start to wrap. So I go under and then under. So it's under, around, and then under on the other side of your fingers there. And I like to keep my fingers there and just make sure it's all laying nice and neat and not sort of bunching or doing any weird stuff, so it's all nice and neat at the end. And I'll do that 20 times on heavy stuff for like GT stuff and that. And if I'm doing, you know, maybe like 50 pound, 40 pound, 30 pound, I do it about 24 times. So that's, right now I've done 4. So we'll go 20, 5, 6, 7, 8, and just checking every time in here that, you know, it's not getting bunched or it's just laying nice and neat. 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright. And then that's what I'm looking like at the end. So see how it's nice and neat, it's all laid one after the other, there's no bunching or anything. One wrap after the other. Now I'll pull my main line along my tag end of my leader, fold the tag end over once more, so it's down the bottom, like so. And now, because I do a risotto finish, which is, I think it's actually a lot easier. I did, you know, people start, you do half hitches. At the end of the day, you just do whatever you're comfortable with. I was doing half hitches and I actually cast a lure off and my half hitches all came apart and I was like, I'm never doing half hitches again. So I went and learnt the risotto finish and it's always been great for me. So you got it sitting like that now. Then you want to go back over to create a little loop. It's almost similar to the Uni Knot. And then you want to bring that through that loop. I haven't left myself much tag here to play with, but so through that loop 5 times. And then you sort of, if you got it through 5 times, you sort of pull that down And that's how it should look. Nice and neat. And that, as that pulls down on top of your FG sort of pulls into it, so it sort of locks it off. I'll grab the tag in. Pull on it tight, both ways. Pull on that. Always give a bit of spit too. Probably should have given that a little bit of spit a bit earlier. Always give spit on all your knots as well. And really, that's pretty much it. For me with the FGs, when I've done them and I've got that risotto nice and locked in, I don't really like to go and tighten it like a whole great deal, sit there with gloves and really rip on it, because I just don't think you need to. I've normally, once I've got that risotto nice and locked, I'll give it a little tight and make sure it's all good. And then I'm happy just to let the fish sort of really lock it right in. Once you hook up to a big fish, he'll lock that right down for you. And if you've tied your knot good and you're confident in it, you don't need to worry about getting gloves on or line pullers and all that sort of shit. But now you want to trim your tag, not too close. Leave a little bit there, because this is very important. Suck on it so you don't burn into your main line there, and get a lighter and just singe that a little bit back so it just mushrooms the end. So the end just sort of, if you can see that, just so if the knot pulls this way, it can't slip off. It hits that mushroom and locks in, and it stops there. Just check that, make sure it's not sharp or anything, and that's good. And then with my tag end on this side, I'll make a little loop. Hard because I didn't leave myself much tag. Usually, yeah, if I had a bit more tag, I would make that little bump there probably about halfway down. But then you just want to get the lighter and burn to that there. And that's it. So that's the Uni Knot, Loop Knot, Braid Knot, and FG Knot, which the only 4 knots I use ever lure fishing. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe, and if you want to see any more of this stuff, leave us a comment and I'll put it together.